Well, we have reached that point of the season of the inaugural Women's Premier League, where we are only left with the final, the summit clash.
Yep.
Delhi Daredevils or Delhi Capitals versus Mumbai. We've had that final once before. Didn't end too well for Delhi fans. 2020, bad year.
Only.
Yes.
Yeah.
2020, pretty one-sided final.
Yeah.
This one doesn't look like it'll probably be that one-sided. But with the tournament coming to an end, we thought we'd discuss something. You guys, among all of us, and we have, of course, very special guests. A lot of people have been asking to see you on the show, by the way. True story. They've been calling out constantly. When are we getting you guys here? So here we are.
It's good to be here, and thank you so much for all the love which the people have been showering upon us.
Yeah.
And I think like Sports Today, the last stint which I had was not here till the moment, but right now it's doing really well, and the content which you guys create is really nice, and some very informative contents, not just regarding cricket but other sports as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully I would be able to contribute
Yeah,
to it.
we would love
Absolutely.
that. So the first topic of discussion, well, Women's Premier League. A lot of hype for it when it started, and now the real question we should be asking is, did it make, or did we feel it made a desired impact? So throwing the floor open, gents, let's go one by one.
Well, if you ask me, Shane, I think to a great extent, on many counts, I think I'm satisfied with what I've seen over the last 2 to 3 weeks. Much like others, I would say, I too was looking forward to the inaugural edition of the Women's Premier League. We've seen something like this happen in Australia, in England as well, where Indian players were seen playing, and for long we had waited for something like this to start in India as well. And I'm, let's say, as a viewer, let's say, forget as YouTubers, let's say, which we like calling ourselves.
YouTube journalists.
Yes, I think as a neutral, as somebody who loves watching the sport, I think I have seen some good cricket over the last 2 to 3 weeks. It was good to see the cricket aspect of it. It was also good to see the fact that there were crowds in the stadiums. Yes, fortunately, unfortunately, whatever, you couldn't take the game to different parts of the country, but there were just 2 stadiums in which the tournament was played in its entirety. But having said that, the fact that there was a decent turnout in both those stadiums, and I think part of the reason, or the part of, or some credit should be given to the BCCI here as well, I feel, because of that call that they took to make tickets free for women. We saw those numbers add up, and it wasn't just about, let's say, the women turning up for all these matches. I would say the men also, did turn up in decent numbers. And I think, if I'm not wrong, Meg Lanning, or one of the senior players, I would say, from Australia, did make that point about the fact that the highlight for them has been the crowd, the turnout of the crowd. That was good to see from the players' point of view as well. And for me as well, it was good to see that noise being there. Of course, fans were treated to the cricket, but they were also treated, let's say, to some dance moves as well, let's say, from Jemima Rodriguez and the other players as well. So there was all in all good entertainment. Yes, I would say when you talk strictly about cricket, I would have wanted to see a little more from the Indian players, because if you have a look at the top bowlers or the top batsmen, it is heavily dominated by foreign players.
Correct.
You see a Meg Lanning over there when it comes to top run getters. I think she's up there with some 281 runs or something. Not too sure of the number there.
And Sophia Eccleston, if I'm not wrong.
Sophia Eccleston with 15 wickets. I think she had 14 going into yesterday's match. She did pick up a couple yesterday. So the fact that foreigners, and again it was, that's what you thought, that Aussie and English players will be making a mark. Yes, they did, but let's say as a fan, as a neutral, I would say I expected a little more from the Indian players. So this is just in one manner in which I felt that the tournament was a bit skewed in terms of our reliance, let's say, for these international superstars, World Cup winners, most of them I would say, who are topping all these charts. But I would say still, I've been entertained, and I look forward to tomorrow's match, in which you see 2 captains who both had one on each other, I would say. So the scores are good going into the final, both winning the match comprehensively against each other. Delhi getting their revenge just about a week back against Harmanpreet Kaur's side. So it should make for a good final, and I think I have been rather satisfied with what I've seen over the last 3 odd weeks.
I think in terms of the games, I expected more competitiveness for the matches. A lot of matches were one-sided.
Yeah.
Some of them were really good, particularly the Grace Harris ones, which we remember. And she's, I think, one of the biggest star to emerge out of the tournament. Not that she wasn't performing or she wasn't contributing for her teams in the past, but now people are engaging with her in terms of not just the cricketer but the personality she is. Because there's a lot of talk around social media about Grace Harris, and strangely UP dropped her after her match-winning performance, and everyone was after the UP franchisee. But in terms of the Indian players, as you rightly mentioned, I was expecting more, and in terms of Indian talents as well, especially the upcoming girls. And there you could just recall one name, that is Saika Ishaq. She has been brilliant.
Fantastic.
Priyanka, she impressed a lot.
If I'm not wrong, Manoj, she's not been an India regular, right?
No. She hasn't played yet. She was good in domestic, but she has done even better.
27-odd-year-old as well, and she comes from Bengal, if I'm not wrong.
And her strength is line and length. She doesn't turn the ball much, but just like Sophia Eccleston bowls at the right pace and hits the right areas.
Bowls stump to stump, and very, very. I think he's mentioned, and I think one of my favorites to emerge out of this tournament has been Saika Ishaq. I've been amazed every time I've seen her bowl. With that variation, he beats the batter. Again, not a lot of tricks in the book, not a great turner of the ball. She's a wrist, she's not a wrist spinner, she's a finger spinner. But again, bowls line to line, stump to stump.
And yesterday as well, in one of the previews, it was mentioned that Sophia Eccleston turns the ball more and Saika Ishaq turns it less, but the accuracy with which she bowls is very impressive.
We're talking about players who impressed. For me, I have to say Parshavi.
Yes.
Loved watching that girl.
Yesterday.
But unfortunately, she didn't get much chances. She should have played. Like in UP's lineup, there were
two players,
Shweta and Parshvi. And I was expecting more from Parshvi. Shweta, somehow, I felt she was overawed by the occasion. And the fact that could have helped her was she was opening with Elisa Healy, and she just needed to settle herself down, because Elisa at regular instances I could remember that she was hitting the ball well, and then she was all the time going to her and then communicating, just stay calm, just stay at the crease, but still she was not in the moment. She was thinking too much, if I'm not wrong, and that's where she lagged, and then she was dropped as well. They opened with Devika Vaidya, then they went back to her, but her performance was not up to the mark which we expected after the Under-19 World Cup. But Parshvi, she's very impressive with the line and length and with the pace she bowls. Both the spinners, Parshvi and Saika Ishaq, their pace is impressive, because in women's cricket we see at the pace is not at around 80 and
50-60 kilometers per hour is normally
at times it is there, but they bowls at 85, 87. So that was really impressive.
Exactly.
Although, since we've talked about Parshvi, and I really gush over her when it comes to her, batting, bowling skills. We were watching the match yesterday. How impressed were you to see her dusra, yaar? Like, her long one was amazing. I think we saw glimpses of it at the Under-19 World T20.
Yes.
And again, as Manoj said, I was looking forward to this talent, and I wish the franchise had made the right call to play her more often. But her wrong one is just amazing. Even Harmanpreet couldn't pick her yesterday.
Exactly. That's just how good, her wrong one was. And I think we're talking about, and I do agree with you guys. I will give my 2 bits, is the fact that, yes, we have seen a lot more of the foreign players shining. One thing, by the way, I was very surprised by was that not more franchises chose to go for an associate player. The only team who did that was the Delhi Capitals, because they knew if they could do that, then you could field 5 foreigners, and not just that, Tara Norris was very impressive.
Especially at the start of the tournament.
In the first game itself, I think she picked up 5
wickets. Yes. It was very, very good, and I think that's another place where, you're getting that chance to shine. Look, the league rules are basically telling you, guys, you can play 5 players, let one of them be an associate nation member. Imagine what a platform it would be for an associate nation member to come here, be like, okay, let's get some new eyeballs onto the sport there.
And maybe that's the reason, because you have to have that quality of players as well to be able to introduce in the playing 11 itself. And she started well, but I don't think she played all the games. If I
she didn't,
because then
Norris,
you have
right?
Yes,
Norris didn't play all the games.
So, and at the same aspect, what India lacked, like Indian players lacked, was their presence presence and their impact in itself, and that's why at times you felt like, okay, it's fine that the teams are 5 only, because you didn't have much players to, you
the
know,
talent pool isn't
Yes,
there, and I think that is where you come to the deeper questions of, okay, do you need to be working on the domestic game a lot more?
In fact,
but I think in last year or so they have introduced the age group cricket
correct.
because of
So,
the under 19
if
World
I'm
Cup
not
and all.
wrong, I think out of the 90 players that went for auction, I think 57, no, there was a much bigger number. I think 57 ended up, 90 were available if I'm not wrong. 57 were Indians ultimately that got picked, and 30 odd were your foreign players.
Correct.
So if you look, let's say, if you were to just calculate the percentage, let's say, so of course the idea of the Women's Premier League, which was to, promote Indian cricket, women's cricket, I think to a great extent that was fulfilled because of the number of, women who got the chance to be picked by 5 franchises. Also, let's say to begin with, you would have wanted more franchises also, but let's just, accept the fact that the game's still developing in the country. It's definitely.
And there aren't enough players. Like, you can just to put on paper, you can field an 11, but the quality is not there.
The quality will not be there, and actually, if you're trying to make the game popular, quality of matches is as important.
In one aspect, I think where I'd be a little critical, let's say, as far as the quality of games that we saw, I think the fielding aspect is something I would have wanted a little better.
Yes.
I think it got better as the tournament progressed, but at the start it was very ordinary.
Exactly.
And it was poor, to be honest.
Particularly from the Indians, I would say.
Yes.
We were kind of lagging behind when it came to that aspect.
And there were some spectacular catches. Jemima, I remember, picked a couple of very good catches.
Then she's one of India's best fielders, by the way.
Exactly. But she dropped a couple of dollies as well. And the same can be said for other players too. There were dollies being dropped, which is something
ground fielding as well. It was looking like as if some school cricket, and for the first time they are playing.
But that was the Harleen's catch, the dive.
Yes.
Forward diving, that was very good.
Again, something.
But
that happened early
as
in the
far as
tournament,
Indian cricket is concerned, we were looking forward to WPL in terms of the players which we could find and who can straight away get into the 11, or maybe we will have options. But I don't think that particular.
Did that happen though? Can we see that happening? Are there any names that will stand out so much so that
not really in terms of the position
somebody,
which you wanted.
for someone like an Umran with that X factor, with that crazy pace of his, that this guy has to be
in terms of the T20 setup of the Indian team, which we are looking forward to, and the players which we want in our team are kind of the finishers or the all-rounders. But I don't think we have the answers right now, because in terms of Deepti, you have now a bigger question mark over her, because the way she bats, I don't think her position in terms of 5, 6, 7 it suits her or the team.
Deepti, yes, she managed to pick some good wickets. She didn't really get those 4 wickets.
Bowling wise as well, she was not up to the mark.
Exactly.
But then there was never a question about her bowling. With her, it was always about, can she be that true all-rounder?
Exactly.
But she doesn't seem to be
in
that.
terms of ODIs, okay, manageable.
As well.
She
got to those 20-25s, and that happened consistently.
But the thing is, the position in which she plays.
Yes.
Suppose you need that asking rate is around 9-10. You don't get that confidence that she will walk in and she will straight away start hitting or finding the gaps. That's an issue. And at that point, I think Dayalan Hemlatha, who was very ordinary when India toured to England.
Oh, she suddenly was playing very well here.
She was very ordinary. I was like, how can they pick her? But now the way she has impressed in this particular tournament, she is the one who we can see, okay, in that position she can play, and she bowls as well. Though she wasn't used here, but she bowls. I think she bowls
useful. Useful spin.
And with the bat, she can hit straight away.
What about Kiran Navgire though?
I think
needs time.
I was impressed.
She has good hitting ability, but then she needs to find out areas like in terms of dot ball percentage. The short ball is one thing where she needs to work out.
But she did again. Last few games I think were high pressure games for her side, but still produced runs. Even yesterday managed to get that, I think 40 odd runs yesterday as well, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So what impressed me as far as Kiran Navgire is concerned, that as her team,
she is a good 6 hitter. She can clear boundaries at will, but then she needs to work on the other aspects of her game as well, in terms of finding singles, building up a partnership, building up an innings, because then you need to finish the match as well.
It's not just about boundary.
She's got just 2 big innings, one the last one which you were mentioning, and the other one the first game in which she scored a half century. Other than that, it has been low scores. So, and short ball is one area where bowlers will target her because she's not that comfortable with the short ball. And particularly now in every team, you have those bowlers who can
at least land you a few short balls.
Yes. And with good accuracy and a decent pace, which can trouble you. So that's also an area where she needs to work upon. And other than that, I'm disappointed with Yastika as well because though she has got those scores, those numbers in the run chart, she's
I think just a couple of matches where she actually played those match-winning knocks. But
the other thing is maybe I expect like more from her because the way she performs in the domestic, and you just see her playing in the domestic, she's a different player, and when she turns out for India, maybe she takes too much of pressure to prove herself. That's one thing I think which is hampering her because she is a quality player. She can like hit boundaries at will, she can play those big knocks, but till now she hasn't been up to the mark for me. And she has an opportunity because the performance in the final, everyone remembers that. So she has an opportunity in the final.
Absolutely. But I think one of the key points we're missing out on, all of these players who we mentioned, by the way, all are still very young.
Yes.
They still have the time factor in their hands. Like we keep talking about more recently, we kept talking about Shefali.
Yes.
People forget how young she is to the point that she was actually eligible to captain India in an under-19 World Cup, despite having actually been playing senior cricket for a couple of years now, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So there also, and she too, I think if you're looking at lower order, one name who we didn't mention because I think she's a bit established now or relatively more established, Richa Ghosh. Another one who can come down the order, smack instantly, and then also maybe get a quick fire 20-30. But again, the key, youth. One of the reasons why I think in recent times, Indian cricket or Indian women's cricket, you tend to perhaps falter at the bigger stages is because you lack a key component which say the Aussies have, experience or match winning experience.
And I think the one thing is if you have like done something, you have crossed that line. There are players who haven't crossed that line.
Exactly.
So there are self-doubts. There are more questions than the belief that I will be able to take my team through. So that's one area where they lack. And also the players which we are looking forward, we missed out on Sabinini Meghna. She also disappointed. She did very well in the New Zealand prior to the World Cup, the bilateral series which we had. Then everyone was like she should be in the main squad, but then she was in the reserves. But her footwork also is limited in terms of like she can hit the ball, but then you need to have that footwork to counter the new ball as well.
Correct.
So these are the areas where I think Shefali also needs to work a little bit because other than at the start of this WPL, there were question marks over her as well.
Exactly.
Because the World Cup wasn't that good. The Under-19 World Cup, the expectations which we had from her wasn't again that good.
But again, I think Shefali, for somebody like a Shefali to work very closely or in close quarters with somebody like a champion, in Meg Lanning, also somebody who's been extremely prolific with the bat, I think it reflected in the way she approached the game, in the way her six-hitting ability or her ability to clear the boundary, that could be seen time and time again. Shefali also not just one of Delhi Capitals, I think she's the second highest run getter after her skipper. I think she's one of the top run getters in the tournament as well, if I'm not wrong.
Right up there.
So I think what it's done well for Indian cricket and especially for the players who played or got the opportunity to play in this WPL is when you rub shoulders with somebody like a Meg Lanning, with somebody like an Eccleston, somebody like a Taylor, all of these guys put together,
and all
Healy, Skiver Brunt as well, all of these names put together, it might not give you dividends immediately. That's not to say, the team could not, let's say, crumble under pressure in the next big tournament that is to play. But going forward, you expect, and I think that's the biggest thing that the Indian women's side or the Indian players, could really learn from the IPL, which is we've seen time and time again, and we're just discussing that off camera as well, as to how many times India have fallen short just because of nerves in big tournaments. And if one thing, I think if the WPL, besides all the talent pool and as far as hunting is concerned for young talent concerned, one thing if it can give in the longer run, let's say, to these women cricketers is give them that confidence and those nerves of steel, let's say, when you play these high pressure games again and again and again in front of a bumper crowd, in front of, let's say special when you like the Brabant, which have a rich history by the way, hopefully, you could get to a point wherein you not only know all these players very well, so you know their weaknesses and all also in times to come, but hopefully you get that skill as well, you get that composure to counter those tough situations.
No, like Manoj was talking about, being able to get over the line.
Yes.
Imagine both teams have a number of younger players, Indian younger players.
Yeah.
If they get that ability, it's like, first IPL, whole world is watching, the world of cricket is looking, what are you going to do? You win. Then suddenly that switch flicks inside your head, and that's intangible. It's not something that can be taught or imbibed. It's something that players come up with over their own time, and when they are able to consistently win at the highest level. And truth be told, if you're looking at domestic T20 tournaments, nothing bigger than an IPL or a Women's Premier League, even though it's the debut season, everyone is watching. So what better way to learn how to deal with pressure?
And also the fact that it was a reality check for the established Indian players as well.
Yes, I mean, look at someone like a Smriti.
Yes.
Imagine the kind of tournament
And
she's
then
had.
you can also,
somebody like a Renuka Thakur who actually
Yes.
set the world on fire just about a couple of months back,
And
had
then
a
you
nothing
can-
season. Absolutely nothing.
then you can ask the question that if the other players, the overseas stars can do it, then why can't you? Where are the areas where you are lacking? So
Correct.
these are the things. Suppose we have seen Sophia Eccleston doing it with the bat, but Deepti is unable to do that thing. So either you work on that aspect, or then there's a with WPL we will have that competition. Then you will have those players. Okay, for this particular slot we have 3 options. Then you will have to pick one from those 3. So then if you are performing here and everyone is noticing your performances, then there will be good healthy competition which we need for the slots as well. Like Saika Ishaq, she will be in the contention for the playing 11 whatever game India next
should
plays.
be. Absolutely.
You need, and
I
you
think
need
maybe
depth.
she put somebody like a Gaikwad, I think,
Yes.
down the pecking order perhaps, because I don't think Gaikwad, I think maybe yesterday she picked up a wicket maybe, if I'm not wrong, but
I don't
otherwise,
remember.
I think I was very impressed with Saika. I think all the matches she was Harmanpreet Kaur's go-to bowler, and always ended up with a 3-4, 4-4. She made wicket taking look easy actually.
And then in that sense, MI had some wonderful wicket takers this year. In fact, but another
And
thing,
in terms of the challenges which we are talking about regarding the Indian cricket as well, Jemima, I think in most of the games she played at 4. She was not playing at her usual position 3. And the way she played in the World Cup as well, and before that her form was not that good, but she performed well there. And here at number 4 as well, she was able to straight away get into the grooves.
Yes.
So that was a good plus for India as well.
Exactly.
Because at times we feel that we have that limited batters who can accelerate straight away. So Jemima at least showed that she has that range. She can play those sweep and to the fine leg, to mid wicket, and then she can open up the offside as well. So in that aspect, I think she was a big plus as well. Not in terms of the amount of runs she scored, but the batting position in which she walked in and the way she played. That was also a plus
Her
for
fielding,
India.
like we did touch
Her
upon earlier as
fielding,
well.
outstanding.
also an absolute entertainer, to put it politely.
Yeah.
Absolute entertainer, that woman, or girl, can't even call her. Yeah.
So at times she is questioned for her all those
Antics, but
I think all players, who are a little, let's say, busy in the social media world, let's say, or let's say just come up with these
it's like
antics
if
on
you
the field,
perform
will always
well,
be
we are
questioned.
okay.
then
with
you're
everything.
fine. But if you
But
don't,
if you are not performing,
Arey,
then-
reels bana rahe ho.
Yeah.
Then that
All the
becomes a
time it's like-
Look at
criticism.
Shikhar Dhawan, let's say. He is one of the most entertaining players you'll come across on social
socials,
media.
correct.
Look at David Warner. But when you look at their records, let's say, if David Warner here in India, his activities just, amp up, I would say. But he gives you those runs as well. He's he's an IPL champion too. He's obviously a world champion. And Shikhar Dhawan as well, you'd look at his record, let's say, in whatever occasions that India's still number 1 player when it comes to ICC tournament.
2013 Champions Trophy.
Exactly. And
But if we talk about the final, the Mumbai and the Delhi team are there. Mumbai, I think RCB's team was very much hyped, and rightly so. It wasn't that it was just hype because they had the performance as well.
Exactly.
That's the
Somehow they
case
didn't click.
That's the case with both the men's and the women's
But
team.
I think for Mumbai it was opposite. The way they started, there wasn't that much talk regarding their setup and the team. I don't think there was either we
They didn't look like
underestimated.
the strongest. I
Yes,
think I
either we
get it. Yeah.
underestimated them in terms of their lineup, but it's a solid lineup.
It's a solid lineup, but I think one of the good things about the Mumbai Indians side is the kind of balance that they have in terms of
all-rounders.
youth and
Also the all-rounders.
The all-rounders
like
as
Hayley
well.
Matthews, Melly Kerr,
Yeah.
Nat Siver, they can bowl
can
4
bat and
overs
bowl.
and they can
Exactly.
bowl in
run, in fact,
top
for that
3.
matter, she's giving you about 30-40 quick fire runs as well, and also picking up 3 wickets. Now, what else do you
Exactly.
expect?
And also we were mentioning Indian players and the players who were who had something to prove, and Pooja Vastrkar is also one of them.
Yes.
And she didn't get that many chance to bat, but still she is someone who we can look upon to in terms of that position 5, 6, 7. If she develops in a way, because she bowls medium pace, which
Yes.
She got decent pace well.
yes,
Yeah.
and good heavy ball, just like Hardik Pandya. She prefers that
Hit the deck.
hit the deck.
Yeah.
And if she contributes with the bat, the problem with her is in Indian team as well. She doesn't get those opportunities to bat. Like for in games where you are like in a comfortable position, in those situations you can send in her. Like just go and spend some time.
Go
and
spend some time, play your shot.
That's how you develop. If you cannot just trade. Okay, she played a very good knock against Pakistan in the World Cup. Asneh Rana and Pooja Vastrkar, the partnership they had. But in terms of match time, they need those outings where they can walk into a situation which is comparatively easier and then just get some game time over there, and then they can be a good option going forward for the Indian team as well, not just for their franchisees.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
what about Delhi? Like, who are you backing in terms of the
Actually,
final?
I am giving Delhi a slight edge because I think for me, Delhi peaked at just the right time. With MI, they started the tournament great guns, won 6 games on the trot, but then ended up losing their last 2.
I think five.
But then 5, and then one of those losses was a very heavy loss to Delhi, who at that point picked up steam. So I think as far as
By the
peaking
way,
is concerned, Delhi.
And their record is 1-1.
1-1.
So it is a 3-match series.
It's basically a 3-match series for the Capitals and the
It is,
Indians.
when you look at the final, I think this for me is a battle of evens. Clearly the best 2 teams of the tournament,
Yes.
and
Yeah,
Delhi
yeah,
playing the final as
absolutely.
well. And much like Chen, also it's got nothing to do with the fact that
He's a
I
Delhi
am from
fan.
Delhi. so of course it'll be good to see,
I'm backing Delhi for Alice Capsey. Like,
Oh.
I just love her, the way she
plays,
the way
man.
she
Oh my
expresses.
God.
I think
Capsey.
the skipper, I think, will again hold the key. She's been in sublime
And for
form.
Delhi's lineup at the start of the WPL, though Maglaning scored some runs, I think in India game also she scored in the World Cup,
Yeah.
she scored some 40 odds, but she wasn't at her best. Like with Maglaning, you don't see her struggling for runs.
Yeah.
She was scoring, but there was a struggle to get those runs. But then came the first game. She just she came out very nicely.
She's for a reason. I think she's either the highest run getter or the second highest. She's definitely up top. If I'm
And the thing with her is she's a dangerous big match player.
Yes.
So in finals, you have to be backing
Yes.
her 9 times out of 10.
And same goes with Harman as well. Like at times we have seen those World Cups and all those big events where in the league stage you have
but for
nothing.
Harmanpreet Kaur, what makes me look forward to this game even
And I
more
think
is
there was a
that Harman
comment
would
made by
probably want-
Maglaning after the game.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Harman would probably, in some sense, be looking for a revenge
Little bit of
sorts.
revenge,
A
yeah.
little bit of revenge, of course, because there's a Meg Lanning
And
that
also
she's
like
up against.
in the auction, I don't think Harman would be expecting much more.
Yeah, but I think that's something that's gone now, and
But still, you have a point to prove. Like, okay, I have
with
got
that.
the
I think
trophy.
it's an established fact that, of course, there were some younger players than Harman, who managed to get.
I think Pooja Vastrkar got more than Harman, if I'm not wrong. in-
Yeah. I think actually what
Shefali
was
did.
not helped was in the auction.
Shefali also did.
Auction-
I think she ended with a 1.8
Something
crore price
like
tag,
like it was less
There
than
were, I
two.
think, 5 more Indians who managed to
With
get-
her, the problem was age because remember, who was the highest paid in the Indians or on the auction? It was Smriti.
Smriti.
26. Perfect prime age
But still,
to get
like,
a player.
for Harman, you could have invested because everyone
get a guaranteed
like
captain.
If MI was going for her, they were definitely looking for a captain.
Exactly.
And she was a captain for at least like maybe 2 to 3 years, depending on the performance as well.
And
but
fitness.
you were looking for 2 to 3 years with Harman and as captain, and it
But
was
one thing
strange.
I would say that happened perfectly for Harmanpreet Kaur is that she gets to represent a franchise which comes with a certain legacy. She doesn't go to again. She's India's captain after all, and it would have all eyes would have been around not just for the price tag, but which franchise she sort of gets aligned with too.
Correct.
So that was, I think, the auction went perfectly for her because she's gone to a franchise.
And then there was no pressure as well, which I think might be the case with
Yeah.
Smriti because she was the highest paid, and then the performance, the leadership.
They stayed going to a
as well.
franchise which has a reputation for not winning tournaments.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the women's team have continued on that legacy, but that pressure stays. You can't deny that it's not there.
That ways, in many ways, you didn't know, which team you're seeing actually, out in.
Are you seeing the potential team or?
Exactly.
But in terms of these two teams, I think the bowling lineup of Mumbai, in terms of the options they have and the variety, they have,
All-rounders, yeah.
it is better than Delhi's. You have limited bowlers.
Delhi is more about
on-
specialists.
Correct.
That is, Mumbai, of
Mumbai
course,
has
yes.
and good options. Easy Wong, she have like
Easy Wong is coming off a hat-trick here. I mean,
and what pace she has, yeah.
pace
She's
and the
all
wonderful
20 years old.
accuracy.
fierce competitor.
All of 20 years
and
old.
the
yeah.
accuracy,
Yeah.
sheer accuracy, constant stump to stump on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Easier said than done. And she was again in sublime form throughout the tournament. That hat trick, no one should have been surprised when
So
it
Meg
came.
Lanning also, like, she will be having the services of Jess Jonathan. She has
Yes.
been delivering those clutch overs.
Jess
for-
Jonathan is
for
the queen
Australia.
of death overs.
Yes.
Queen of death overs.
And out of nowhere, you will see that she's not bowling, and then come the crunch over, and you will see Meg Lanning handing over
And
the
she
ball.
will
to
get
her.
you that one wicket, will just break the momentum of the opposition.
And even if she doesn't get you a wicket, she is so hard to get away. It is impossible.
And one matchup would be like we were talking about Saika Ishaq and Meg Lanning. I don't think her record is that good against the left arm spinners. It's an area where, like, obviously they would be. You would be.
I think Meg
seeing a
Lanning
matchup.
versus Saika Ishaq, I think
Yes.
he said
That could be a
very
key
well.
battle.
Yes, I'll tell you.
Absolutely.
And
Very
to start
interesting,
the
actually, you know, there's so much,
because
so many fronts.
Delhi is like heavily reliant on the starts which Meg Lanning and Shafali
But
provide.
I think that's true for both the sides. You look at Mumbai, their middle order or lower middle order hasn't been tested enough. You got, when you look at the Mumbai scorecard for the tournament so far with these 8 matches, and rather the 9th, they played the eliminator as well. So when you look at the scorecard for them overall, it is just top heavy. You see a Skiver Brunt there as one of the top run getters.
As
You
always.
see
Harman is
Harmanpreet-
also there.
You see Harmanpreet over there, and
Melly also, she has scored good runs.
Haley Matthews is there again. So the middle order and lower middle order hasn't been tested enough.
And in the matches where, like, they got a chance to bat, unfortunately there was the situation of a collapse, and then they couldn't like contribute
Exactly.
much. I think in one match, Easy Wong,
So
she
that's what-
scored
that's
some
what-
20-25 runs.
I think-
but for Delhi, I think the kind of start and the impact which the opening pair they have,
They gave.
Oh, yeah.
like, if they pick 1 or 2 wickets
Which is
early,
why I feel, you know, both teams are very similar as well. A lot reliant on the starts they get, a lot reliant on the top 3-4 batters, because you don't know what really to expect of that middle
Of
order.
the middle
It can be a
orders.
little shaky at times. Just that the two teams have been so good in the tournament so far that both the middle orders haven't really been tested
Tested as
enough.
much,
Because
yeah.
Delhi,
and I think both the sides, like, they have some 1 or 2 players who haven't even, like, contributed in terms of they are bowlers, but they didn't get to bowl.
Didn't get to bowl
I think
much.
Arundhati Reddy from here, Amanjot
Yes,
Kaur
yes.
from
Yes.
Mumbai, and they didn't get much chance. I don't think they have even bowled like half of their quota of the overs in any of the games, because they just needed 1 over. I think Jinti Mana from us in the Mumbai lineup.
such has been, you know, the performances from both the sides. You look at the eliminator yesterday, getting done within what, 17.2 overs or something. So still about 2.5 overs to go. Again, the performances have been such that the opposition has been bowled out early. What do? You can't bowl all your, you know, all your bowlers cannot be bowling out the full quota. Mumbai, remember, in one of the matches used 7 bowlers.
Yes.
Because
Seven
they have so
bowlers.
many options.
And like
That's
in
the
their
beauty.
lineup, I think everyone can bowl. Like, if you leave out the keeper Yastika Bhatia, other than that, everyone, like, Harmanpreet is not bowling these days.
Yeah, but then she would bowl.
She used
So-
to bowl.
around,
Yes, she used to bowl. And for Delhi, even Shafali can bowl. Shafali has been bowling for India as well.
Exactly.
And for the under 19 team as well, she was bowling there. So the Capsy, I think in one of the
Capsy
games,
starred in one of the
she
last
bowled their
matches.
full
Yes.
quota of overs.
She was their top batsman and top bowler.
yes.
So
Both the teams have good options. That's why they have 1 or 2 players. Well, like, I think in one of the games of India versus England, Adil Rashid was playing as a specialist fielder. I think it happened in, I think it was Lord's game or in one of those matches. So there are cases with these 2 teams where the players have played just as specialist fielders, or maybe bowled 1 over because the batting wasn't there, and the primary role was bowling, and they didn't need their services.
So that's it. I mean, we are definitely very hyped up for the WPL final. We'll take a few comments as we go, but first to ask you guys in 2 lines to sum up the question which we asked at the start of the show.
I think in terms of the things which I was looking forward to from Indian cricket point of view, I think that objective, I don't think hasn't been addressed yet. We need more performances. Even from the established Indian players, we didn't get that sort of performances which we needed. It was all about majority of the things were centered around the overseas players and overseas stars, not from the Indian players. So that thing, in terms of buzz and the excitement, it was very good. But in terms of the things, like, we used to, every time India will lose a game or a knockout game, we will say, oh, that's why we should have that WPL. But that issue wasn't addressed from the performances which we needed.
I think I'll just slightly disagree with what Manoj said, because for me, I think it was fulfilling on many counts. And like I said earlier as well in the conversation, I'm looking forward to dividends or let's say rewards from this tournament in the longer run. So I wasn't expecting a great deal in terms of a turnaround, but the very fact that it's a huge step in the right direction, I think that's what matters to me. There have been glimpses, or there've been some sort of performances that we've seen from somebody like a Parshavi, somebody like a Shefali, somebody like
I think
Richa.
Shriyanka as well. We didn't discuss about Shriyanka. Like she's
Shriyanka,
someone who could be developed into a bowling all-rounder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So had it not
Something
been
of that sort.
Saika Ishaq, we didn't know. She was such a brilliant bowler.
Yes.
Let's say she was such a smart operator.
She was the biggest surprise package.
Exactly. So for us to be even talking about these things, if it wasn't
It's a big
for the,
plus.
if it wasn't for the WPL, we wouldn't have been having this conversation and this talent pool. Let's say, or these.
But the thing here is like the bowling options or the options or the backups, I think we had, but the area where we lacked in T20 cricket. For ODIs, yes, we have a decent side, but in T20s, we don't have those players who can clear boundaries at will, or who can score those maybe like 8 runs per over becomes a struggle for us.
Yeah.
And which is like kind of a sad state of affairs. So in terms of, I was looking forward to such players who could just come in.
I get it, but what I'm trying to say here is that yes, of course, we do need to fill in those gaps, and if we can't do that, let's say over a period of time, then perhaps it didn't make the kind of impact that we wanted it to. But having said that, again, for the very fact that it's a step in the right direction, and there are players we're talking about, hopefully in the times to come we'll be talking about more players, and we'll be able to see these loopholes from a national perspective, let's say from the national team being filled. I think I'm satisfied with what I've seen over the last couple of weeks.
Same, I get both of your points, and for me, I think yes, there have been places where we've fallen short. There have been things which we've been pleasantly surprised by, but I think everything here is a step in the direction which has to be taken long term. We can't be looking at it right now, because I think one of our commenters, I'm forgetting this name, we'll get to the comments right now, who said that you should be asking this question maybe 2-3 years from now, and it makes a good point. That for now this is very much a long term game we're playing. So I agree with that, and for me personally, I've been very happy with the action we've got to witness. Very, very happy. Anyway, let's take a few chats. Roy SP is joining us. Says happy to see Manoj Bhai here, one of the 2 RR fans I know in this world, apart from Mr. Rawat, since 2K19. By the way, Shane, KKR are playing a game at Eden, correct? It's an intra-squad match if I'm not wrong. So where he's one of our resident KKR fans, so he'll always address me in Kolkata terms. Goes without saying.
2 sides.
Yes. So they'll make sides, and I think they'll have some local
looking
players.
forward to the captains of both the sides.
Because you might get a hint there, yes.
Yeah, hint.
Absolutely. or several hints, because we have no idea yet.
At least we will have 2 names. Okay. Side 1 was captained by this.
Side 2 was captained by so and so. Let's show them. Are there more super chats? We have a few more supers.
Okay.
Only Indian cricket highlights says Haley Matthews giving 2 slow starts for MI.
Is that?
I think this has
only
been
true
the case in the last few games.
No, but exactly, because at the start of the tournament,
she started
was
very
a different
well.
player. In fact, everybody was questioning why wasn't she the same player at the World T20.
In fact, Akash, stop. Akash Bharadwaj is saying, sir, Meg Lanning, big match player, will it be Brunt again? Good question. Meg Lanning definitely has my backing here, but can't put anything past Sky or Brunt. Welcome, my fave Manoj Bhai. Manoj Bhai says thank you. Pranav Anand, yes, that was the commenter who said that we should be asking this question. We can't know later on, because we can't know the impact for 3-4 years. It will be decided by how many impactful players the Indian team gets, and of course the points we were mentioning, depending on say power hitting, responses to pressure, and fielding. Well put, Pranav Anand.
But I think the case here is also the established Indian players who are starting in the 11. Like Harman had a good season, but other than Smriti, you didn't get much. Jemima, she was good. Renuka, as he mentioned, and then Richa as well. You expected more from Richa.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So on that front as well, like the Indian stars or the Indian players, they lagged a bit.
GGK says need an RR WPL team next time. Their fan base is better than DC's.
I think DC's fan base is better.
No, I would disagree. I'll give you one story of mine which I went to watch. It was a DC KKR match in 2012. And I'm sitting in an area where it's predominantly Delhi fans. And the first innings went really well for Delhi. So you're thinking, okay, the Delhi fans will make some noise. True enough. By the second innings, about halfway mark, it's pretty clear KKR are winning. And those same fans are chanting for KKR.
I'll tell you what.
In Delhi!
So the thing with Delhi is, and I think it's got to do a lot with the fact that Delhi happens to be a very cosmopolitan city. That
is true.
And the thing with Delhi and the fan base is that you'll have fans here from all across the world.
That is correct.
Or rather, I should all across India. So what happens when you go to these stadiums is, if it's a KKR match, yes, of course, you've got...
There's a sizable Bengali contingent in Delhi.
Bengali contingent, that's one. But two, there are a lot of Shah Rukh Khan fans.
Exactly.
Now, being in Delhi, they've chosen
Shah Rukh.
KKR.
Also FY 2012, Gautam Gambhir was the captain of Kolkata.
Happens to be a Delhi
Local lad.
for Delhi. So this sectionalism in Delhi is something and it reflects when you go to the Kotla as well, which is why I don't wholly disagree over all these years, because you'll not probably find, even roaming around in Delhi, you'll not be like, must be a Delhi fan. You can't really say that because of the fact, because the sectionalism and the cosmopolitan nature of the city is such
that it's hard to...
Because you won't really find a lot of people here who are like, born and brought up here.
Hardcore Delhiites, basically.
Hardcore Delhiites, let's say. So...
In fact, I remember you're talking about this one match. It was an ISL game. This is when the Delhi Dynamos still existed.
Yeah.
Delhi Dynamos versus Kerala Blasters. There were Kerala fans in the Delhi stadium. So that's how deep this thing runs. So he's right. And Roy SP, we didn't miss your super chat, my friend. We took it a little while back.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's see. More comments is niche jao. We've taken these ones.
Same.
Huh? Same hai? No, I think there's a few more down. Just go down. Pura niche. Let's see. Yes, Matthew Short, we know we've done a live on that. He's replaced Johnny Best. So
Yes.
I think we're done as far as comments go, really. We took the good ones. No, should we?
Is it true that MS will pass his captaincy to Jadeja or Stokes?
Akash, that's all speculation at this point. All speculation at this point. We don't really know yet. Anyway, shall we?
Yes.
So thank you guys for joining us on this edition of the Sports Today Live Dugout. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget, like, share, subscribe, tap the bell so you know when we're going live or uploading a new video. Leave us a comment. Also follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, and stay tuned. Plenty more coming your way from Sports Today. So from Manoj, me, Shane and Harshit, bye-bye.